Hello, everyone. Welcome to Our Neighborhood, the CCTV show that showcases local talent, interesting people, and great events that are right here in the Claremont area. Each week, our guests share their personal stories or demonstrate their particular skill or invite us to walk a mile in their vision. Altogether, our guests create the fabric of this great place that we call our neighborhood. Our guest today is Lisa Bell, owner of Solar Products on Panui. Solar Products on Panui is a company that helps people with small-scale solar projects. Welcome, Lisa. I'm glad you could be with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that.
And Lisa, lately there has been a lot of talk about solar power. I think most people are still really intimidated by it.
That's true. It can be intimidating when you don't understand things, and so it's been my mission to start introducing people to solar energy on a smaller level. I find that most people, when they're comfortable with something, when they get to know it, it's not as scary, so you don't have that what if factor of putting a lot of money into something when you can just maybe go out and try a small product, see how it works, see what the ups and downs are, see what you need to improve, and then if you want to go do something like a larger product, like a full array solar panel like you see in front of some of the electric companies and so forth, you're a little bit more well prepared to do it. Little things like you probably never clean your own furnace at home, right? Because you need somebody special. Mm-hmm. Well, ladies, if you can clean a window, you can keep a solar panel clean, okay? But there are some better cleaners than others, but they do have to be kept clean to actually work efficiently. So, cleanliness and all that. But a lot of people have been coming up to me and saying, Lisa, look, what steps do I take when I'm thinking this through? And so I've got another article coming out more recently for the basic person, like this says, I want to start a solar panel, what do I need to think about? Okay, did you know about anything called solar rights? It's nice to establish things that go with your deed of your property, but did you know that, for instance, if you live on 200 acres, you put your solar panel right in the middle of it, you're probably not going to have a problem. You might still want to establish your solar rights anyway, because down the road, you may not have that 200 acres together. But if you live in a neighborhood and maybe your neighbor's house is 15, 20 feet away, and you want to put some solar panels up, and they decide they're going to grow peach trees, the really big peach trees in their yard on their side of the fence. You haven't established your solar rights. You've got your panels set up. They've got their peach tree set up. What happens? Your solar panel does not get light. There's a little bit of a neighborhood problem there. So some things you may need to do that, and a lot of information is on the Desire website. It's DSIRE, it's Department of Energy site. There's also many things that you can find there on, like New Hampshire, you have to go to town meeting to vote to get tax breaks and stuff. So many states can give you tax breaks, whereas we in New Hampshire don't have that income tax, so we can't really give a break on it. But at town meeting, you can get certain tax breaks for each individual town, and sometimes when you need permits for something, some places do not allow solar panels. You really have to check. I mean, homeowners associations have been known to be a little more than a little fussy about it because some people view them as ugly. We're trying to get them used to things, they're not always going to look like that.
Well, aren't there some, it would vary from town to town, but some, for example, I'm from Vermont, and in Vermont, the state statutes protect the right to use certain renewable energy devices.
True.
And so you may not even be required to get a zoning permit or a building permit to put them up. But that, I'm sure, varies from state to state and town to town.
Yes.
So your advice is good to check with your local government and your state statutes as well to see what your rights are or what you're going to have for obstacles.
Right. That's all part of the planning process, and I've recommended that for a long time. Just go through and solve the little detail things first. It'll give you a lot less headaches down the road when you really want to bring something up. anything new in a neighborhood, people are always, we're going to be people. We're going to be skeptical. We're going to look at, what ifs and, how is this going to affect things. But solar energy, when I look at it, it's one of the least, I think it's the most economically friendly and it makes the most sense. If the sun's going to shine on your house every day, it's like, letting water just go to waste or something. You wouldn't waste other resources. Why are we wasting solar?
So how did you get involved in this small-scale solar project business?
Well, it was an ad in the mail that said, come start a business, and I kind of like to work on my own. And I didn't want to repeat a lot of the things that were out there. I wanted to be a web business because I had been planning to move. I have been happily married for 31 years, but when you tend to own a brick and mortar, bless you that do that, you tend to get another spouse. And I'm not the type that likes to stay tied to an office. So I could be out in the middle of a field somewhere and I could write something up or do some work. Nobody has to know that I'm not in the office. So I like that freedom of being on the web. So that's how I started that. And I didn't want to have products, as I said, that were I like jewelry, but there were a lot of people selling jewelry. And when I started back in 2008 as AmpaWee.com, I wanted to make sure that I had something that was new, upcoming, that was going to last. And solar energy, to me, even at that time, seemed like it was going to be something that was not only going to last, but it was going to grow. And it really has.
And that brings us to the name of your business. Can you tell us a little more about the name?
Okay. Well, web-based businesses, as you know, you have to pick domains, and I have several. To find a .com even back in 2008 that had anything to do with solar was nearly impossible, so I went to the Dakota language site. My mom had originally told me I was part Native American, and she thought Blackfoot. So I went there originally to look up the Blackfoot word. This long and unpronounceable. But I went to the Dakota. We've traveled across the country, so I've seen several different tribes. And I said, let me just check the Dakota Lakota site because I wanted to see what it was. And everything in their language ends in WI. And Ampa was their word for sun. So I went with that. And recently, within the last 2 years, we've gone to solarproducts.me. Instead of a .com, we went to .me. It's a little bit more personal. As you can see, I try to keep personal products, so I figured that would be very easy to stick in people's minds. Solar products for me or .me, something that stuck. And it's been pretty successful as far as, getting the branding out there and things like that. Now people kind of know what it is. And so I've just been picking up quality products. I used to have just a ton of garden lights, and I love my garden lights. They come in like dogs and, they decorate my yard. And as soon as I find a supplier that has quality, I'm really going hard for quality right now. I like the American-made products just because at one time, I know American-made was not well looked upon, but in order to shine in this new market that we've had and bring things back home, they had to go higher on quality. Almost all of my suppliers, the supplies that you see here, are generally speaking made in the United States by United States companies, and I'm happy to say that I'm getting more kids products from a company out west. I just talked to them today, so really happy about that. So I feel like I'm helping out my fellow citizens, I guess you would say, by bringing
That's wonderful.
their products to light. I'm helping them, they're helping me, and together I think we're bringing a little bit more to people's lives. I would not want to be person who went out hiking. I admire adventurous people. I really do. I think you should take chances in life, but be smart about it. If you're going to go out hiking before the worst storm of the century, please understand that you are going to need to keep a cell phone handy, charged, so that you can hopefully call for help if you really need it, because if you're going to do those things, at least be that much prepared. Be prepared with having a light. I don't know about you ladies, but I've had the surprise of going out to my car and it's decided it's not going to start. It's pitch black and okay. You open the hood, you can't see a blessed thing. You can't turn on any lights in the car because you're not going to see it because the battery's dead. But if you have a little something like, can I get up?
Sure.
Okay. you have remembered to even stick this on your purse, to charge up in the light. Here's the little solar panel, rubbery grip. I'll let you try it in a minute, and I'm going to let you show it for the camera. Just flip this switch here. It's enough to see if you've got a leak or, a little something to get you through. Maybe if you've forgotten to turn on your light at your door so that you can see to get in.
That's the thing I find the most challenging is putting the key in the door when the door light is not on.
Yes, how many times have we all forgotten that?
Yeah. Or trying to get to your car in the dark.
Yes, and then those pretty little words come out that you're not supposed to say on television.
That's wonderful.
It just spirals out of control. So this is probably one of the least expensive items that I have on my site, and I think it just makes a lot of sense. And like I said, leave it on your purse, put it on the dash of your car, let it charge up, and stay that way, and then you've got a light.
So do you leave it in the car, in the windshield? How do you charge it?
The best way, okay, like these windows here, they're UV coated for people not to get burned. Solar panels love direct sunlight, but you can leave them in a window. It just takes a little bit longer for them to charge. I learned that when I was trying to charge the big guy here. I thought, I'll be safe and just put it on my, like you would, what do you call it? Oh my gosh, a windshield cover so that the car doesn't get hot. Well, I thought, I'll just lay it on the dash of my truck. And it wasn't charging right, and I called the engineer. He's so easy to talk to. You put it on the inside of the car? Yeah, your windshield is coated with UV protected. That's not going to help it that much. Got out and put it on the hood? What do you know? I should have thought of that.
So direct sunlight.
Direct sunlight is best for solar panels, not so much for people. So when we go outside to do any outside work, whenever I take people outside, it's like, we're going to need some shields. I'll put something on for you, but not for them. They love the direct sunlight. The heat is harder for them. So like you would think that it would, because of the way a solar panel works, molecules where they have to jump to create the energy spread apart in the heat, contract in the cold. So on the 60-degree days that have light, because it's only light that these things count, I have an easier time getting them fully charged very quickly than I do in 90-degree days. So for those of you who are thinking we need a lot of heat, yeah, Arizona, they put all those panels out there. They are challenged with that. You have to account for that if you're going to put up a big system too. Understand, like your sister in North Carolina is not going to have the same temperature that you have, so it's going to be a little bit different, and her position in the sun. All those things factor in.
So you're saying that in the winter here would be a better time to get solar because it's colder?
And the leaves are off the trees.
Oh, that too.
You have to look at blockage too. Now, we do have our cloudy days, but these will pick up some even on cloudy days, and they're coming up with solar panels, believe it or not, that even work underwater and in the yard. We're progressing. These
goodness.
Not necessarily here, but that will be coming. And we also have the peel and sticks, like you can go up and down the side of a building. I didn't think so, but they're really thin. And I think for people who have older roofs and stuff, that's a consideration. Or if you live in a windy area, like you might not want them on the roof because of you've heard your roof on a windy day, right? Creak if they've got something up there. A lot of good things happen. So I don't know. It kind of lost my
stick.
peel. I've had peel and stick, or just the thin film. It's a lot less weight. You do need a little bit more of them to cover a little bit more area, but...
And what would you use that to power?
Well, you could use it to power whatever you wanted. It could power your house. You would just need, it's a little bit more than the glass ones, but if you have a roof that isn't rated for as much weight, or maybe there's some odd-shaped roofs, like at our fairgrounds, it's dome-shaped, and I think maybe a peel and stick might go better on that if you were going to use a rooftop than if you were trying to put the rigid panels on. So it all depends. And if you're going vertical, like for a building, well, let's say you were going to go up and down this wall. Let's say this was an exposed wall. You would probably want to stick something to the side of it. You don't want it your solar panels dangling in the wind, ladies. It's just not a safe thing. People all may not appreciate it if you can't believe it. So you'd stick it to the side of the building like a coating.
So you've really had to educate yourself in all this solar. Did you know this much information about solar panels and solar energy before you started your business?
No, remember that little conversation we had before, and I said I kind of jump into things. I knew it was going to be good. I'm a bottom line type of person. I just said, and I've educated myself along the way, and it's changed in the last few years. I mean, I can look at things that you didn't even talk about really in 2008, except as a maybe in the future thing, and now it's here.
How long have you been in business?
We opened up May of 2008.
So you've been at this for a little while then.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's been a steady increase, I gather?
It's had its ups and downs. I mean, we got hit by the recession too, and I've changed the business over some to try and meet people's needs. So my goal from here is to just keep going up.
Is there a particular population that you find gravitates towards your products?
It all depends on which one. I can sit there and tell you that for some of these, this sits on my bedroom dresser. My husband is a night person, he's a night person, I'm a morning person. So this helps save my marriage in that I don't have to turn on the light when he's trying to sleep. So if you're married, I suppose, and you like lights and you don't remember to buy batteries, because that's another thing I love it, that I have to put batteries on my list all the time. I still keep batteries, but this, throw the windowsill, charges up, and if I get lost, this one in particular actually has a small compass on it. And it also has these lenses. So, if me and my grand pet, I need to go search them out at night. This is for animals. Green is good for using for animals. So let's say, I don't know, maybe I'm the dog catcher and somebody's reported a bunch of cats are bothering them. I don't know what it calls for in the dark. It gets dark early here. You might not want to blind the cat and aggravate them, or the animal, but you might need to see what corner they crawled into to get them out, or, anything that you're doing with any animal. This will help their eyes out. The red is for better night vision for humans. I remember my husband, when he worked on the submarine, it was a requirement. You could not have a white light because it would give away their location. Our scope was up, and that was a big no-no. But you could have one of these. And you had to, because when they did their drills, it was lights out. And it was embarrassing to trip over your fellow sailors. So that's why we have the red and the green lenses.
So how long does it take a flashlight like that to recharge once it's been run down? On an optimum day, let's say.
On an optimum day, a couple of hours. I just keep putting it in the sun periodically. I've never actually ran it down, but it didn't take me very long to get them charged up. Mm-hmm. And you can feel this. It lasts my lifestyle. That's recycled aluminum.
Very nice. It has a nice feel.
So you don't feel like if you're
I love the color. Very girly.
It's not. Oh, it does. Yeah, this one does come in colors. The others pretty much have one. But like I said, I've seen other ones that are plastic, but the light's only going to last as long as the plastic lasts. The LEDs, they're really bright, and they don't create heat. So like if you have a child that tends to touch all this stuff, remember how the old light bulbs used to get really hot and they'd burn? Mm-hmm. I never have to worry about that with a pet or any kids or anything like that. I don't worry about it with LEDs, just because there is no way they're going to burn themselves.
Tell us about these other panels you've got here. What are they for?
This is my favorite. It was the first one that I got. And let's see. This is like the 15 watt. It's from a company in, I believe it's Virginia. And it started out for them as a Kickstarter project. They're actually a company that makes laptop components. So this can charge a laptop. So let's say you work out in the field and maybe you're nowhere near a light source, or I can think of people that work with tools, or they have to go out and check power lines, forests. Maybe they need to write a report, or if you're in a disaster area, many of the insurance people, when they come down, like lines have been torn down. You remember our ice storm, right? How could we forget our wonderful New England ice storms? We nearly had to do our whole grid Well, if you had trees that had fallen through your house or anything like that, you have an insurance adjuster that comes to your house. What if his battery's dead and he needs to file a report, or if you need to take pictures to send anything in? Isn't it nice to kind of have a power source where you can charge up? I can remember where my cousin called me and she said, I went in this restaurant and people were lining up at the restaurant. The restaurant was nice enough to let us charge our cell phones just so that they could keep tabs on when they were going to get power back. This, I can distinctly remember taking pictures with the sun through the ice the next day, because we review, for some reason my husband and I take these pictures. It was really pretty, but people didn't have power for 3 weeks, and I thought, the sun shone every day, for at least a week after that. And this is what you need, because this will provide you at least something. It may not power everything, and then if you put more of these, it powers more stuff. So, I don't know, it just makes sense to me.
How much does something like that run for?
You know what? This, I believe, this is the Sun Volt. This is the Sun Stash. The difference is this has a more expensive battery. This is, I believe, $209.95. I left my price list over there. This will power one laptop. I want to say 10, but I'm not for sure. Smartphones and tablets, 2 or 3 of those on one charge. And what I like about it is you can tell when it's fully charged. You press
I'm
that button.
confused. That's the battery that recharges, and then the battery runs your device?
You can use it with either one, but this package comes together. It's $209.
So I guess I didn't ask my question clearly. You wouldn't plug your computer directly into...
Oh, certainly you
could do that.
As long as you had the power matchups correctly. This one has, the Sun Volt has I call it a changer. I'm sure you know electricity what comes in here is direct current.
I get it.
It has to be changed
So
proper
the
voltage.
battery performs that function for you so that you don't
Yeah, in
have
this
to worry
case, the
about
battery-
overloading your computer or blowing it apart.
Yeah, mismatched electricity is really not a good thing.
Okay, so that's where the battery comes in.
Yeah,
The battery is charged by the solar unit, and then you plug your device into the battery.
And you can I can plug my cell phone directly into this because this one has a changer along the way. This little cord here doesn't look like much. It has a converter in it. Mm-hmm. Okay, this battery does not have a converter in it. This battery does have the converter in it, so this one doesn't have, it's like a direct one, and then the battery does all the converting for this one. Mm-hmm. And it's important for you to know that.
And that is
What
very
kind you have.
small.
It is small.
I remember
You
big
keep some-
converters that if you wanted to run something in your car and you wanted to run it, and these converters were huge, and now you're saying this
That's
is
progressed as well, apparently.
Well, you remember what phones used to look like, even the first mobile phone?
Yeah.
And they didn't do half of what these do. Yeah, it's changed, and it's even changing more. And you know what's the funny thing? Adults come up with ideas, but if you look at what the things kids are coming up with to solve problems, there was a 12-year-old in Long Island. He went to camp, saw solar panels, and he's got a small backyard, so he looked at trees and kind of went, okay, this is how they do it. He invented a solar tree for his backyard for his family to use. Who does that at 12? So where are these products going to be in a couple years? I mean, probably a 15 watt's going to be less than the size of this 10 watt.
So if someone wants to find out about your company, where would they go?
Okay, you sit down to your computer and go to solarproducts.me.
Solar Products ME.
SOLARPRODUCTS.me.
Okay, so it's the plural.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot.
Thank you. I definitely have learned an awful lot, and we need to have you back because you had mentioned your solar house, your solar dollhouse to teach children about solar products. So we need to have you back on again
Okay.
to maybe bring your house with you.
Yes, actually, I'd love to have the characters drawn up by that time, but I think we'll just let the kids use their imagination on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. And I do have a book. It was done for kids, by kids. A 14-year-old drew it up. We have characters, and I've introduced human characters. It's to kind of introduce how the sun comes in. It comes from the sun, it goes to the panel, and they talk to the electrons, and kind of get things going a little bit. And your computer screen pops up with a message from the electrons. This is what we want you to do, and the kids do it.
Fascinating.
That's the best way to learn a new subject, is to go to the children's section of the library first.
Somebody had told me, and the reason I had started that is if you can explain it to a 3-year-old, anybody can get it.
Exactly.
And I've been at places where I have understood stuff, and I'd hear the adults going, "How does a solar panel? What goes on inside a solar panel?" I can explain. I can roughly explain it. It's easier done on visual, but they really don't have the understanding, and I think that's why a lot of people are reluctant. Because usually when people don't understand something, they're very reluctant to try it. Back when horseless carriages came around, how reluctant were people? If you look at the old laws, the way they were written, oh my goodness, they weren't sure at all about these things. And now everybody drives one because we've gotten more comfortable with it, right?
Well, I think that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
On that note.
Yes, I guess that brings us to the end of another show, and we hope that you learned as much as we did. Do you have a skill or a vision that you'd like to share? Call CCTV and let Keith know. And until next time, we hope to see you in our neighborhood. And thank you, Lisa, from Solar Products ME.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our neighborhood, the CCTV show that showcases local talent, interesting people, and great events that are right here in the Claremont area. Each week, our guests share their personal stories, or demonstrate their particular skill, or invite us to walk a mile in their vision. Altogether, our guests create the fabric of this great place that we call our neighborhood. Our guest today is Lisa Bell, owner of Solar Products on Panui. Solar Product on Panui is a company that helps people with small-scale solar products. Welcome, Lisa. Glad you could be with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that.
Lisa, lately there has been a lot of talk about solar power. I think most people are still really intimidated by it.
That's true. It can be intimidating when you don't understand things, and so it's in my mission to start introducing people to solar energy on a smaller level. I find that most people, when they're comfortable with something, when they get to know it, it's not as scary, so you don't have that what if factor of putting a lot of money into something. You can just maybe go out and try a small product, see how it works, see what the ups and downs are, see what you need to improve, and then if you want to go do something with a larger product, like a full array solar panel like you see from some of the electric companies and so forth, you're a little bit more well prepared to do it. Little things like you probably never clean your own furnace at home, right? Because you need somebody special. Well, ladies, if you can clean windows, you can keep solar panel clean, okay? There are some, and there is better cleaners than others. They do have to be kept clean to actually work efficiently. So, cleanliness and all that. But a lot of people have been coming up to me and saying, Lisa, what step do I take when I'm thinking this through? And so I got another article coming out more recently for the basic person, like it says, I want to start a solar panel. What do I need to think about? Okay, did you know about anything called solar rights? It's nice to establish things that go with your deed, your property, but did you know that, for instance, if you live on 200 acres, you put your solar panel right in the middle of it, you're probably not going to have a problem. You might still want to establish solar rights anyway, because down the road, you may not have that 200 acres together. But if you live in a neighborhood and maybe your neighbor's house is 15, 20 feet away, and you want to put solar panels up, and they decide they're going to grow peach trees, the really big trees in their yard on their side fence. You're going to establish your solar rights. You've got your panel set up, you've got their peach tree set up, what happens? Your solar panel does not get play. There's a little bit of a neighborhood problem there. So some things you may need to do that, and a lot of information is on the Desire website. It's DSIRE, Department of Energy site. There's also many things you can find there on like New Hampshire, you have to go to town meeting to vote to tax breaks and stuff. So many states can give tax breaks, whereas in New Hampshire don't have that income tax, so we can't really give a break on it. But at town meeting, you can get certain tax break for each individual town. And sometimes when you need permits for something, some places do not allow solar panels. Really have to check. I mean, homeowners associations are known to be a little more than a little fussy about it because some people view them as ugly. We're trying to get them used to things. They're not always going to look at that.
Well, are there some, it would vary from town to town, but some, for example, I'm from Vermont, and in Vermont, the state statutes protect the right to use certain renewable energy devices.
True.
And so you may not even be required to get a zoning permit or building permit to put them up. But that, I'm sure, varies from state to state and town to town.
Yes.
So your advice is good to check with your local government and your state statutes as well to see what your rights are, what you're going to have for obstacles.
Right. That all part of the part of the planning process, and I've recommended that for a long time. Just go through and solve the little detail things first. It'll give you a lot less headaches on the road when you really want to bring something up. It's anything new in a neighborhood, people are always, we're going to be people. We're going to be skeptical. We're going to look at what ifs and how is this going to affect things. But solar energy, when I look at it, it's one of the least, I think it's most economically friendly. It makes the most sense. If the sun's going to shine on your house every day, it's like, letting water just go to waste or something. We wouldn't waste other resources. Why are we wasting solar?
So how did you get involved in this small-scale solar project business?
Well, it was an ad in mail. It said, come start a business, and I kind of like to work on my own. And I didn't want to repeat a lot of things that were out there. I wanted to be a web business because I have been claimed to move. I have been happily married for 31 years. When you tend to own brick and mortar, unless you do that, you tend to get another spouse. And I'm not the type that like to say hi to office. So I could be out in the middle of a field somewhere and I could write something up, do some work. Nobody has to know I'm in the office. So I like that freedom of being on web. And that's how I started that. And I didn't want to have products, as I said, that were I like jewelry, but there were a lot of people selling jewelry. And when I started back in 2008 as AmpleWe.com, I wanted to make sure that I had something that was new, upcoming, that was going to last. And solar energy, to me, even at that time, seemed like it was going to be something that was not only going to last, it was going to grow. And it really has.
And that brings us to the name of your business. Can you tell us a little more about the name?
Okay. Well, web-based businesses, as you know, you have to pick the domain, and I have several. To find .com even back 2008 that had anything to do with solar was nearly impossible, so I went to the Dakota language site. My mom had originally told me I was part Native American and she thought Blackfoot. So I went there originally to look at the Blackfoot word. Slung and unpronounceable. But I went to Dakota. We traveled across the country, so I've seen several different tribes. And I said, let's just check the Dakota site because I wanted to see what it was. Everything in their language ends in WI. And AMPA was their word for sun. So I went with that. And recently, in the last 2 years, we've gone solarproduct.me. Instead of a .com, we went to .me. It's a little bit more personal. As you can see, I try to keep personal products. I figured that would be very easy to stick people's minds. Solar products for me or .me, something that's stuck. And it's pretty successful as far as, getting the branding out there and things like that. Now people kind of know what it is. And so I've just been picking up quality products. I used to have just a ton of garden lights. I love my garden lights. They come in with dogs and, they decorate my yard. But and as soon as I find a supply that has quality, I am really going hard for quality right now. I like the American-made product just because at one time, I know American-made was not well looked upon, but in order to shine in this new market that we had and bring things back home, they had to go higher on quality. Almost all of my suppliers, the supplies they see here, are generally speaking made in the United States, United States companies, and I'm happy to say that I really work with products from a company out west. I talked to them today, so really happy about that. So I feel like I'm helping out my fellow citizens, I guess you'd say, by bringing their products to light. I'm helping them, they're helping me, and together I think we're bringing a little bit more to people's lives. I would not want to be the person who went out hiking. I admire adventurous people. I really do. I think you should take chances in life, but be smart about it. If you're going to go out hiking before the worst storm of the century, please understand that we're going to need to keep a cell phone handy charged so that you can hopefully call for help if you really need it, because if you're going to do this thing, at least be that much prepared. Be prepared to have a light. I don't know about you ladies, but I've had a surprise of going out to my car and it decided it's not going to start. It's pitch black and okay. You open the hood and you can't see a less thing. You can't turn on any lights in the car. You don't see it because the battery's dead. But if you have a little something like, can I get up?
Sure.
Okay. You have remembered, we stick this on your purse, to charge up in the light. Here's a little solar panel. rubbery grip. I'll just try it in a minute, and I'm going to let you show it for the camera. Just lift this switch here. It's enough to see if you've got a leak or, a little something to get you through. Maybe if you've forgotten to turn on your light at your door so that you can see it in.
That's the thing I find the most challenging. Putting a key in the door when the door light is not on.
Yes, how many times have we all forgotten that?
Yeah.
I
Or trying to get to your car in the dark.
Yes, and those pretty words come out you're not supposed to say on television.
That's
It
wonderful.
just spirals out of control. So this is probably one of the least expensive items that I have on my site, and I think it just makes a lot of sense. And like I said, put it on your purse, put it on the back of your car, let it charge up and stay that way, and you've got light.
So do you leave in the car, in the windshield? How do you charge it?
The best way, okay, these windows here, they're UV coated for people not to get burned. Solar panels love direct sunlight, but you can leave them in a window. It just takes a little bit longer for them to charge. I learned that when I was trying to charge the big guy here. I thought, I'll be safe, just put it on like you would, what do you call it? A windshield cover so that the car doesn't get hot. Well, I'll just lay it on the dash of my truck. And it wasn't charging right. I caught the end there. He's so easy to talk to. You put it on the inside of the car, yeah, your windshield is coated with UV protected. That's not going to help that much. Got to put it on the hood. What do you know? I should have thought of that.
Oh, direct sunlight.
Direct sunlight is best for solar panels, not so much for people. So when we go outside to do any outside work, whenever I take people outside, I'm like, yeah, we're going to need some shields. I'll put some on for you, but not for that. They love the direct sunlight. Heat is a harder for them. So, like you would think that it would, because the way a solar panel works, molecules where they have to jump to create the energy spread apart in heat, contract in cold. So on 60-degree days, light, because it's only light that these things count, I have an easier time getting the fully charged very quickly than I do in 90-degree days. So for those of you who need a lot, yeah, Arizona, they put all those panels out there. They are challenged with that. You have to account for that if you're going to put a big system too. Understand, like your sister in North Carolina is not going to have the same temperature that you have. It's going to be a little bit different at her position in the sun. All of things factor in.
So you're saying that in winter here would be a better time to get solar because it's colder?
And the leaves are off trees.
Oh, that too.
You have to get blockage too. Now, we have cloud days, but these will pick up some even on cloudy days. And they're coming in solar panels, believe it or not, that you work through water and in the dark. We're progressive. These not necessarily here, but that will be coming. And we also have the peel-in sticks. Like you can go up and down the side of a building. I didn't think so, but they're really thin. And I think for people who have older roofs and stuff, that's consideration. Or if you live in a windy area, like you might not want them on the roof because of, you've heard your roof on a windy day, right? Creak if there's something. A lot of good things happen. So, I don't know, it kind of lost my... Peel and stick, or just the thin film. It's a lot less weight. You do need a little bit more of them for a little bit more air, but...
And would you use that to power?
Well, you can use it to power whatever you wanted. You can power your house. You would just need just a little bit more than the glass ones. But if you have a roof that isn't rated for as much weight, or maybe there's some odd-shaped roofs, like at our fairgrounds, it's dome shaped, and I think maybe a peel and stick might go better on that if you were going to use a rooftop than if you were trying to put rigid panels on. So it all depends. And if you're going vertical, like for a building, well, let's say you were going to go up and down this wall. Let's say this was an exposed wall. You probably want to stick something to the side of it. You don't want your solar panel dangling in the wind. Maybe it's just not the same thing. People may not appreciate it if you do it. So you'd stick to the side of the building like a coating.
So you really had to educate yourself in all this solar. Did you know this much information about solar panels and solar energy before you started your business?
No, I remember that little conversation we had before when I said kind of jump into things. I knew it was going to be good. I'm a bottom line type person, and I've educated myself along the way, and it's changed in the last few years. I can look at things that you didn't even talk about really in 2008, except as a maybe in the future thing, and now it's here.
How long have you been in business?
We opened in May of 2008.
Yes, you've been asked for a little while.
Yeah.
And it's been a steady increase?
It's had its ups and downs. I mean, we had the recession too, but I've changed the business over some to try and meet people's needs. So my goal from here is just going up.
Is there a particular population that you find gravitates toward your products?
It all depends on which one. I can sit there and tell you that for some of these, this sits on my bedroom dresser. My husband is a night person, he's a night person, I'm a morning person. So this helps with my marriage. I don't have to turn on the light when he's trying to sleep. So if you're married, I suppose you like light. You don't remember by that, because that's another thing I like. I don't have to put patties on my lid all the time. I still keep that. But this, where the windowsill charges up, if I get lost, this plugs particular actually has a small compass on it. And it also has these lenses. So, me and my grand pet, I need to go search them out at night. This is for animals. Green is good for using for animals. So let's say, I don't know, maybe I'm the dog catcher and somebody's reported a bunch of cats are bothering them. I don't know what they call it for a dog. It gets dark early here. You might want to bind the cat and aggravate them, or the animal, but you might need to see what corner they crawl into to get them out. Or, anything that you're doing with any animal, this will help their eyes out. The red is for better night vision for humans. I remember my husband when he worked on the submarine. It was a requirement. You could not have a white light because he would give away their location. Our soap was a big no. But you could have one of these. And you had to, because when they did their drills, it was light out. It was embarrassing to trip over your fellow sailors. So that's why we have the red and the green lenses.
So how long does it take a flashlight like that to recharge once it's been around? On an optimum day, let's say.
On an optimum day, a couple hours. I just keep putting it in the sun periodically. I've never actually ran it down, but it didn't take very long to get them charged up. And you can feel this. It lasts my lifestyle. That's recycled aluminum.
Very nice. Has a nice feel.
So you don't feel like you're
love the
color.
Very girly.
It's not. Oh, this does come colored. The others pretty much have one. Because I've seen other ones that are plastic, but the light's only going to last as long as plastic lasts. And the LEDs, they're really bright and they don't create heat. So like if you have a child that tends to touch all the stuff, you know how the old light bulbs used to get really hot and burn? I don't have to worry about that with pet or any kid or anything like that. I don't worry about it with LEDs because there's no way they're going to burn themselves.
Tell us about the other panels you've got here. What they are.
This is my favorite. It was the first one that I got. And let's see. This is like the 15 watt. It's from a company in, I believe, Virginia. And it started out for them as a Kickstarter project. They're actually a company that makes laptop components. So this can charge a laptop. So let's say you work out in the field and you're nowhere near a light source, or I can people work with tools, or they have to go out and check power lines, forests. Maybe they need to write a report, or if you're in a disaster area, maybe the insurance people will come down. Like lines been torn down. You were our store, right? How could we forget our wonderful doing nice store? We nearly had to do our whole grid. Well, if you had trees that had fallen through your house or anything like that, you have an insurance adjuster that comes to your house. What if his battery's dead and he needs to file a